Hello world, Lisa Friedrichsen here, your friend and computer science professor with another short screencast from javascript.info, the modern JavaScript tutorial. We are down to section 5.4, arrays. And as you already know, an array is simply a list of values. Now those values can be a string, numbers, even objects. There are two ways to declare an array. You can use the new keyword, but most people don't. Most people just use the direct way called literal syntax. You're literally creating an array. And when that array is created with strings, you must delimit them with quotation marks or apostrophes. Now, the new keyword in JavaScript I've read was added to make JavaScript more familiar to Java programmers who create their new objects that way. But in JavaScript, you can directly create an array just like you can directly create an object, just like you can directly create a primitive string, number, or Boolean. You do have to use a new keyword when you're creating a new object. I'm again going to open up my console and demonstrate some things about arrays here in the console. The first thing, of course, is to realize how to create them and how to reference them. Arrays are referenced starting with position 0. So apple is 0, orange is 1, plum is 2. You separate the items in your array with commas, and you can leave a trailing comma if you've got your list oriented vertically like this, which is just sometimes easier to read, particularly when those array elements are long. 4 of the most popular methods of arrays are pop and push, shift and unshift, to add and remove items from the array. Push adds an element to the end, and pop takes it from the end. So let's create our array here. I'm going to call it students, and I'm going to assign it to an array of 3 students, Lisa, Doug, and Kelsey. Use the pop method. We use our array name, students.pop, and that will push off the last item from the array and return it. So now when we look at our students array, I only have Lisa and Doug. If I want to add something to the array, students.push, I have to feed it a piece of information that I want to push onto the array. So I'm going to push Aaron onto my array. It returns a value, which is the length of the number of items in the array. And when I recheck students, yes, now I'm back to 3 items. I popped off Kelsey and I pushed on Aaron. The tutorial also talks about shift and unshift and how they're slow with the turtle, and pop and push are fast with the bunny, because shift and unshift go from the front of the array, position 0, and pop and push don't care about how many items are in the array. They just pop and push onto the end. Once we have an array, the tutorial reminds us that we often learn about for loops, because after all, we often want to loop through the items in the array and do something to them. In this case, we're going to window alert them. I'm going to change that to console log so the information stays in my console here. So I'm declaring the array apple, orange, pear, and then I'm going from position 0, apple, to less than the array length. The length is 1, 2, 3. So it's going to go through here 0, then 1, then 2, incrementing by 1, and console log out whatever is in position 0, 1, and 2 of the ARR array. And let's just run that apple, orange, pear. The book also talks about another way to iterate over an array. If I declare a variable named fruits2 and assign it to apple, orange, plum, then I can iterate over that fruits2 array by declaring a variable that can be fruit, because that represents a singular version of the whole entire fruits2 array, or I could make it X, I could make it whatever I want. But the point here is I'm declaring a new variable, and what this is saying, for every item in fruits, which we're temporarily going to call X, console log it out. And let's see what that does. Exactly the same thing. So you can use the for loop, the traditional for loop, or you can use the for of construct. It does the same thing. He also compares and contrasts that to for in, which is used with objects. And that's probably not what we want with an array, because while an array is an object, and he goes on to explain why that's a bad idea to use for in with arrays. Use the classic for loop or use for of. Now here's an interesting thing, the length property. The length property is however many items are in your array. If you assign apple to position 1, 2, 3, the fruit's length is going to be 124. If you set the length property to something less than it is, it's going to truncate the remaining elements. If you set the length property to something more than it is, right now it's going to be 2 elements because you just set it to length 2, then it does not fill the array with emptiness. So there's some interesting aspects to the length property. As in every tutorial, there's some advanced information that I'm not going to cover, such as multi-dimensional arrays, an array of arrays, but you might see it. It's like a matrix. Position 1, 1 would be 0, 1, it'd be this 4, 5, 6. and then the one element, so 0, 1, it would be 5. So alerting position 1, 1 would be alerting the number 5. And you can use the toString method to take an array and return a comma-separated list of those elements. And as always, he has a wonderful summary on the key items to know about arrays. Arrays are incredibly important to your programming knowledge, no matter what language you're using. It starts with understanding that there's simply a list of values, and they all start with an index value of 0. And in JavaScript, they can contain strings, numbers, booleans, or objects. Thank you.